Hi, my name is Lyle Troxel.
And I'm Miles Elam.
We host a radio show called Geek Speak in Santa Cruz, California. And we've been talking about technology on air for the last 12 years, 10 years, something like that. Today we are at JS.everywhere, conference about JavaScript in San Jose, hosted by, by a whole bunch of people. But who I want to talk to today is one of the sponsors, actually, is eBay. And Patrick Steele-Idem, is that right? Good enough. You're a JavaScript developer, and you're here today to talk about JavaScript. What's eBay doing with JavaScript? Specifically, your library.
Good question. So what we saw at eBay is that it's a big company, lots of different teams, and we wanted to have a community within eBay where teams could share code with each other. But that wasn't happening, and the reason that wasn't happening is because each team was picking which technologies they wanted to use, like whether it be jQuery, YUI, and there's all sorts of them out there. And that's a good thing, except you couldn't create code that worked across all these different teams, so there was no consistency. So we looked at that. We also said, well, there's no code reuse across from the client to the server. And we also said, well, there's no code reuse, you have different types of target devices that you want to support, and the code wasn't accounting for that. So developers weren't able to leverage the different features of different devices without adding a ton of code flow. So what Raptor.js is that it's a tool set that gives you the ability to create code that it's very well organized and has the dependencies well declared, but you can have server-side specific dependencies, or you can have library-specific dependencies declared so that you can create code that can adapt to the different environments that's running it. So if you are creating a UI component that you want to share with other teams, you can do that without having a hard dependency on jQuery, for example. So that's the main win. Okay. And also the server-side, client-side functionality.
And did part of the rationale is we just need another framework as well? I mean, is that...
Well, see, I'm trying not to call it a framework.
Why not?
Because I think a framework tells you how you have to build your application versus what I'm calling as a tool set, which is what helps you build an application. So we see it as all the building blocks to piece together all of your complex libraries using small independent modules. And so it doesn't tell you how you have to write your modules. I mean, there's certain code syntaxes that we recommend, but it doesn't even enforce that.
Is it doing something like require.js? Is it in that space?
It is. One of the features, one of the tools that it comes with is a optimizer and asynchronous module loader. And the reason we did have to write a new one versus using something like require.js is that at eBay, we're all about scale, and every byte matters. So performance is huge as well. And we found that with the require.js module loader, while it works really well, its optimization characteristic was that it tried to put everything into a single file. And that doesn't work if you want to really optimize heavily used pages. You want to either have consistent bundles across pages, or you want to have configurable bundles so that you can control how your code is loaded.
So part of the design issue is that you have such a large web infrastructure that you really want to be able to reuse a piece that's used a lot and have it loaded from the same location for all the different browsers that are using that piece.
Exactly.
And so does that mean that there's some kind of awareness of your entire web space at compilation time so that you can say this module is more important? I mean, how do you determine whether, let's say we have 4 modules, right, and one of them is going to be used a lot all over the place. Right. So you don't want that to be in the same file as the other ones.
Right.
So are you doing a lot of files, or how are you deciding the rules?
Yeah, it's interesting. So each application is different. So how each application developer can define their own bundles, but then also when you have certain code that's shared across teams, those applications, when the code is shared with the other teams, it can define its own bundles. And what that gives you is for the core set of UI components or JavaScript modules that are shared across different applications, they can have consistent bundles. And the reason consistent bundles are important is that if you go from one page to another, you're not re-downloading the same code just because it happens to be bundled up differently.
Right, but you have to, so those consistent bundles you're splicing up a little bit like you see most of the, jQuery is the most well-known for this kind of thing, right? Most of the plugins, you don't put the plugin inside there unless you're going to use it a lot, that kind of thing. Right,
exactly,
All right. Miles, you got questions?
So does that mean when you're loading stuff up that you are doing a requirement and you get back a $sign for jQuery, and if you're using YUI, you get back the Y object, and then you can play with that? Is that the abstraction, or does it go a little bit further than that?
It actually, so at the high level, it doesn't even care how you write your code. But that does mean that when you say you want to load a module, what you get back. And if it doesn't know about it, so it doesn't know about jQuery out of the box, unless you associate jQuery with some namespace. So you can do that, but the pattern we're focusing on is keeping it as source code agnostic as possible. So you just, all the Raptor.js optimizer sees, which is what we use to actually package up the code for delivery to the web, is just a bunch of packages that describe what files are required for each individual module. It doesn't care how you write your modules.
Are you familiar with Bower?
Yes.
And what do you think?
Bower is a great tool for distributing code. We're actually, and I actually think that Bower and Raptor.js would work well together. Because
Yeah.
Bower is just a matter of pulling down the code from some repository, and I like that it uses Git versus other ones that try to, like take NPM for example. It's
Yeah.
not even a restricted repository. Anyone can check in code there. It's not secure. But Bower, you're pointing directly to the source, so you know exactly where it's coming from. You can go look at the source code.
I also like the idea with Bower of if you're getting into that first definition file, which you need, right, around
Yes.
a library, and it seems like that would be exactly what the kind of thing you need for your piece. Yeah.
Yes.
All
And
right.
the one thing that is interesting, though, is that with Raptor.js asynchronous module loader, is that the optimizer will send down all the information that the loader needs to figure out how to download modules asynchronously. So all the URLs that are required for each individual module. The client is not trying to guess how to download it, and you don't have to put configuration data into the client.
It seems like Raptor.js is really targeted for a company like eBay, a massive website distribution. Would it matter for like a one application kind of
It depends.
development team?
Good question. It definitely was designed for performance in mind, and I suppose if you don't care as much about performance, you may not see the benefits. But I think any application will benefit from having a reduced number of HTTP requests or consistent bundles across pages.
Right, and as an asynchronous module loader, does it also take just any type of module that's made for AMD, or as that spec, like the same thing that Require.js does, or do you need to make some changes?
Yeah, you can definitely use AMD modules with Raptor.js. The only problem I see is that AMD comes bundled with a loader that you're forced to use. And that has, for eBay, we wouldn't want to use that in all of our pages because it's pretty heavy.
Raptor.js by eBay, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you.